Alrighty, so I stumbled a bit these last couple weeks. I missed videos for I think 2 weeks now, so I'm kind of behind on that. I also, what I'm going to go over right now is kind of a reason that happened. This stuff just burns me out so fast. It just takes so much time and is kind of bland. Anyway, this is my spell spreadsheet and item spreadsheet. So I did get in all of the spell ideas and item ideas that I wanted to get in. I have all of the idea, like what the spell does in like a quick cliff notes kind of idea, and then like in-game description for what they do. Have all the IDs set up for everything, and then so the way spells are gonna work, there are the three classes. There's rogues, warriors, and mages. Warriors and rogues, well, all three classes have access to all of the baseline spells. So Fireball is a baseline spell. Comet is a baseline spell. Once you get the spell, you can use it no matter what class you're on. The other pieces here are mage specific. So mage classes get, or the mage class, I should say, gets an item that will enable them to tinker with spells. So they can take the fireball spell and add the air element to the fireball spell and change it a little bit so that now it's called kinetic flame and it travels a little bit faster and it casts faster. And so you can do that with all of the other elements and add that into the main element of the spell. So there are 6 or 7 different spells for each element, and then each of those are broken into all of the other elements added into the main element for the spell. Sounds a little confusing, I'm trying to word it out, but the gist is there's lots of spells for mages. Warriors and rogues each have their own set of things, so each element, or each class has 6. Warriors and rogues have 6 abilities in each of the elemental trees, I guess I should call it. So they can choose out of these things, and they have access to baseline spells as well. Mages end up having a huge, large amount of options because of the way it just works out for that. I might end up having to add in some more things for warriors and rogues because they don't have as many options. The idea is that mages would be very, very focused on casting spells nonstop, whereas rogues and warriors would be kind of meleeing a lot. I'll Once it's all in and I can actually test all of that stuff, I will figure out if I need to add more stuff or not. But the warrior playstyle kind of revolves around it. They have shouts, so lots of stuff that affects the entire screen or gives them buffs for a while, um, and just kind of changing their attacks so they can. They have a lot of physical stuff where they, which shouldn't be too surprising. Rogues is very similar, but rogues have a lot of what's the word? Conditional kind of abilities. So you have to. Rogues, their main thing is going to be slowing time. They'll be able to attack enemies really quickly while the enemies are slowed. Um, and like a lot of their abilities are just passive bonuses. Whenever you slow time, you get extra crit or you get extra damage or whatever. And so they have a lot of conditional kind of abilities like that. Whereas warriors are just here you fight better. And intermixed in between both of those two classes are some magical kind of things, so you can kind of sort of go for more of a magical warrior if you would like to, or a more magical rogue. Um, and then as far as items go, I have it all broken down in a spreadsheet for different types, like different. I have potions and foods and materials and stuff. Realistically, the way they're going to be broken down in the game terms is consumable versus material items. I'm very likely going to have to add some more materials. I kind of tried to make everything work in a sense of what I'm probably going to need to make the crafting sort of make sense. I'm not going to go for a super duper realistic version. You have to have like 10 screws to make this one tiny little thing, but I'm going to make it at least fairly reasonable for trying to craft everything. And there are some special items and stuff like that, but I've got item descriptions for all the items as well as the spells, some notes and stuff for everything. I also got everything into Unity, so all the scripts for the items and spells are in, so I can grab all the information. And I started today designing the spell screen. So this is going to be another inventory screen. So you've got your item, your weapons and stuff that you can choose here. Your armor that would be showing up as I've shown in previous videos, and then your spells are going to function a little bit differently. The idea I want behind the spells is so, and this is another thing I changed also, very minor thing, but I wanted to have, I think I spoke about this in another video. I wanted to have this top skill like menu thing. This is basically how it's going to look when you're in game, minus this red screen and everything else. Something's broken and it's not working right now. But the idea is I wanted to have it make kind of a more follow the same idea that the bottom here is showing, and the kind of the idea, the same thing with the health and resource things. So I want it to all kind of look sort of similar. So these are kind of like just big, I think these are trapezoids or something. I don't remember. I'm bad at geometry. But kind of the same idea. Before, it was more of a like circular kind of thing, like a half circle, with the things kind of laid out odd. And it just looks off with this menu system. So I tried to make it a little bit more uniform and have everything kind of laid out sort of how this would be laid out. Anyway, totally minor thing, but I went way too long on that. Anyway, the idea is that so you'd have this thing in your spell screen. Whenever you click one of these buttons, it would be like trying to equip a new spell into that slot. So during gameplay, you only have 6 abilities readily available at any one time. I haven't quite decided on when you can change abilities and when you can't and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to figure that out as I go along. But the idea is you would be switching out things. So you can only have one water spell, one earth spell, one fire, etc., etc. But you have all these different options, so you kind of make a build, so to speak. And the way this would work is you would click on the Path of Water to equip a new water spell, and this would kind of make like a little text bubble in like comics and stuff. So some little lines would pop out here and then connect to this bigger square, so you know you're on the Path of Water. And then you have access to all of these spells that you've gotten. Anything that hasn't been obtained yet, you would be grayed out, and probably I'm going to obscure the lettering too. Then clicking on any of these buttons would have, I'm going to have like a little, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but some sort of connection between these two windows, and have like a animation of like energy or power going between them. So you click on these things, and I'd like to somehow have like an arrow maybe going up and around that kind of connects over to that little connection that would go over here. Not super positive how I'm going to do that. It probably will be more work than it's worth. But I'll see if I can get something working with that. Anyway, the idea is you click on these and it pushes everything over here, and you can actually read what the spell does. Very similar to how the weapon stuff works. So you click on Identity Crisis here, and you can see all of its information. So the spell goes up here, the description of the spell. This is going to be like just straight plain English of what the spell does. And then underneath it has like snapshots or whatever you want to call it. So if it's a attack speed spell, it gives plus 50% attack speed and plus 20% damage or whatever. So it's really easy to tell exactly what it does. Some information about how the spell is in terms of lore and all that. So going to any of these, it would just move the little chat bubble arrow things kind of coming down and connecting it, and then change all of the spell names. Obviously, there's some problems here. That's what I was talking about with math before. I'm not not quite getting the math right, and I have some more work on this to do. But it just changes everything, would update all of the information for which ones you have. And then I'm not quite sure how I'm going to really lay all of this stuff out. This is kind of, well, obviously it's very basic right now. The idea I want to have it is kind of like a split right here. So if I can, I'd like to try and get this whole row pushed over and then have it just be right along that line, so all the spells are on this side of these three buttons. And then clicking on any of these three switches sides, so you have all this stuff over here and then puts this over there. It's completely unnecessary except for the fact of how the window ends up being in terms of size. To be able to read all of this stuff easily, it kind of needs to be about at least this size. And I can't really make it go down or higher because of how I have all of the menu system stuff worked out. I think it's kind of nice, and it's a nice little transition. But I just have to figure out how the sizing is all going to work and stuff. But that's the general idea. So clicking over here, there's going to be also like a little button, just kind of exactly how this is over here. There's an equip button. It's going to be just right here. There's an equip button, and it'll change this button right here into whatever spell you're equipping. And that'll be that. So next week I'm going to finish up this and make sure it's all working. You can equip any of the spells and kind of get more of a concrete idea of exactly where I want all this stuff laid out. Hopefully I'll try and get some a little bit more detail in here as well. And then I need to figure out how I'm going to do the items screen as well. I think this is going to be pretty simple. It's going to be just basically a list of all of the items and what they do. Maybe even this will probably just be usable items in here, and then the crafting stuff will have anything else that you need. I might have just another button in the crafting menu here. Right now these are like the construction screens, so you can build items and then like break them down. I'll probably just put another one in here that can show any like materials or something that you have, so you can read about what they are and what they build into and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what we've got going, and next week I will hopefully have all the spell stuff done. Alright,